What's up, everybody? Circus here with an emergency update video. I don't know what this is. If you're not watching Battle Phase, you should, because this stuff just happens, right? And I was watching it. We did a video earlier in the day about it, the new Zexal weapon skill, right? And this thing 100% affected the outcome of the finals, right?
Absolutely. It came out of nowhere. We saw it earlier in the tournament, and then when we read over it, we were like, wait, this is actually kind of broken.
Right.
And I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if this got pretty deep in the top cut. And yeah, well, it got as deep as it possibly could. I mean, you can't really get deeper than winning the whole thing.
Right. So why don't you explain a little bit? We have the footage here right when it's about to get triggered and everything. Yeah. So why don't you explain, and we'll watch the footage and just how gross it gets.
For sure. So the skill is super overpowered, right? So of course it plays the flashy animation. He does the fusion or whatever. But what the skill actually does, the first thing it does is it adds the C39 Utopia, which is the one that does the OTK plays on the Utopia. So that means for deck building purposes, you only have to actually play Utopia. You don't have to play your Utopic Ray.
So it opens up an extra deck slot, and you don't have to own it, right?
You don't have to even own it, exactly. But very importantly, for a deck like Teller Knights, that's already tight on the extra deck, they don't have to worry about that, which is super cool for them. On top of that, it triggers when your life points are 2,000 or below. And basically what it does is every single turn until the end of the duel, every single turn, you get to see the card you're about to draw. And if you want, you can change one of that card into one of the ZW card skills, which essentially in this deck, or the idea behind this deck, is it becomes just a level 4 monster that you can summon.
Right, it just you get a random one, right? You don't get to pick which ZW monster.
I'm actually not sure if you get to, if it's random.
But you get one, and they're all level 4 basically, right?
I think so. I think you get to pick. I think someone in the chat said something about it being like the TG flight control skill, which is when you get to pick. So I'm pretty sure you do, which is even more bonkers if ZW actually becomes good. But we're not even using it for ZW. What we're using it for, because it's kind of irrelevant, is you get your card, and then off of your skill, you get to play that card, not summon. Play that card, which means the card just appears on the board. Your opponent has Floodgate Trap Hole, you can't Floodgate it. Your opponent has Canadia, well, you can't Canadia until I make a play with it.
Right.
It just appears. Yeah, so the best way
skills are outside of the game, basically,
exactly.
Right? The rules don't apply.
Exist outside.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I have a level 4 on the field, you have TTH, I activate the skill, the monster appears, I get to go into an Exceed summon and dodge your TTH before you TTH me.
Oh my God.
That is crazy. So basically, the strategy is to get under 2,000, hopefully under 1,000, because then you get to Utopic Ray your opponent. Otherwise, every single turn, you can just start spamming ZW monsters to get your extra deck, going.
Oh my God.
Use hand traps to get your life points low enough for the skill, for the Utopic Ray. It won a lot of cheesy wins today, but it also won this duel in a very legit fashion.
All right, let's check it out as you talk about it here. So this is Harpies, obviously the Harpy player. It's his turn here.
Yep. Harpy's tier 2 deck on the DLE power list. They did very, very well, 40-something odd points. So very solid deck. Expected to see in the finals. Has the Poisonous Wind, and a lot of stuff happens in between when he actually activates a skill. But here you can see his skill is now live. And immediately on his turn, he's going to activate it. I think a huge misplay here is he took him a little too low. Probably should keep him around that 2,000 point.
Oh, so he puts him in Utopia Ray.
Doesn't put him in Utopic Ray. Well, I guess he does now.
Yeah,
but even if he didn't, it's just better to stay around 2,000. But here you get your little flashy animation. Oh my goodness,
it's pretty cool though, right? It's a good one. I like it.
Oh man, and this is just where it gets just stupid at this point. It's kind of a long clip between now and the end.
But basically, at this point, it's triggered, and he can just start.
He just basically started Exceed spamming at this point. He went into his Patriarch. Patriarch lets him pop
right there, it said Zexal weapon again. So he then just decided to use.
He just decided to use it and adds any of the level 4s. And then now the Altair is on the board. Altair summons the Deneb. And at this point, this is his last opportunity. As soon as this Deneb effect goes through to search, this is his last point to use anything before an Exceed summon shows up on his board, where he can't respond until the Exceed summon is over.
Okay,
and that is just abusing game knowledge, pretty much.
Right, because basically you pass priority over. I summon a monster, I pass your priority.
Right. But skills just say, nah, man.
now I'm just playing a card you can't respond to. It's like, oh wait, what?
It's the same concept behind like the Gandora dragon and all those things when people used to do that, and you couldn't do anything until they activated something. Same concept here, essentially.
All right, so you pass your priority, say, no, I'm fine. I'll wait till you summon your next monster. It's like, no, I play my next monster.
And this is a quick effect monster. Quick effect can pop monsters with a similar name. So if he wanted to choose the Harpy Lady 1, they're both Harpy Ladies. Slash would get popped. Has to book a moon his own monster so he doesn't get popped here.
Right.
And then it doesn't matter because then on the next turn he just pops it anyway. As soon as he summons a Harpy Lady, he's under Poisonous Wind, so he can't special summon.
Right. So basically, the tech that Xyz monster, if you guys haven't seen it, what's it called again? Like Heraldic or
Heraldic number something. It's a number monster, the Patriarch or something like that.
Yeah, it came out a long time ago, and we never thought it would ever get used, but it has a very specific use against harpies.
Yeah.
So right here we're seeing he has to flip it down at this point, right? Because otherwise,
if he doesn't flip down his Harpy Lady number 1, his slash dies, and his slash is pretty much his only win condition because he can't make another one under Poisonous Wind.
Because that one kills anything with the same name, and Harpy Ladies all become Harpy Lady out on the field.
Yeah, so that's very unfortunate for him. And then he ends up summoning a Harpy and getting destroyed anyway because it's a quick effect. So it doesn't even matter. And quick effects. Chaining the skill into a quick effect is probably the strongest thing you can do because, like, what are they supposed to do? Like, the monsters already, the idea is for quick effect monsters to stop them from being a threat, but they're already here. What are you going to do about it?
So he summons and then he quick effects with the same thing again.
Onto the channeler, takes out the slash. I think that face down card ended up being another Book of Moon, if I'm not mistaken, but this time he does not Book of Moon his monster. Not that it really matters at this point, because the other face down card's the counter trap, and he just basically wins the game from here very, very handedly.
Oh, okay, so what are we looking at here? I mean, this deck can spam out XZs really quickly, and it's got a Harpy counter built right into it, right? If you can get into this.
It's interesting. It feels like an anti-meta deck. Obviously, we should never base, off of one tournament base any assumptions, but this skill does seem very powerful, very reminiscent of Mass Tribute. If anyone's played back with the Mass Tribute, whenever you give people free material like that, it's pretty easy to win. And we chose this game because this is the flashy game, but in game 1 his opponent was so focused on not triggering the skill that he just overran him with like just card advantage, because he was like, well, if you're never going to attack me, I'm just going to kill you eventually anyway. You know what I mean?
Right. So I mean, is it one of those things where they can maybe take advantage of it with like Battle and Boxer Veils and things like that? Do you have to be at 2,000 and below?
You have to be at 2,000 and below.
But so you can use like Kiteroids and stuff.
Kiteroids, Sphere Karibo, normal Karibo, stuff like that. You can't use Battle and Boxer is the only one that's out. So thank God they didn't mess it up that bad. But you can see here, this is pretty much the end of the duel.
He goes into Utopia.
We show the whole cutscene because it's the finals and we're hype boys. You know how it's you know how it is.
Right. So is this going to get emergency nerf, you think? I mean, are people going to be smart enough going down the road, like, don't go in unless you can kill them? Because this seems like it's like Destiny Draw, but it could be a lot worse down the road. Because like Destiny Draw, they get one card, where this is like
every turn.
This is every turn, and if you've ever played against Soteller Knights or play them, they're really good at just like recycling their resources and continuing.
And I'm kind of worried that more and more anything that has a level 4 normal summon can abuse the skill as long as they can play Sphere Karibo.
Right.
So I think it's going to actually end up being more things, but it's even nicer in the Teller Knights because they play counter traps. So you see your Book of Moon, counter trap, you can't respond to counter traps, and that's it. That's the end of the game. There's nothing more.
Right. There's nothing you can do
at that point. That's just a utopic OTK. So if that was a hand trap, for example, like a Kiteroid, and he tried to do that again, counter trap into the Kiteroid, you can't chain the second Kiteroid effect. That's it. You lose still.
So is this going to be basically a really good skill for anything that's like a rank 4 Xyz deck, maybe?
I think so. It's a question of how tournament viable it will be, or if it'll just be end up another meme. Was this just more of a surprise value?
Right.
But this skill does seem very powerful. Just being able to use it every turn, it just seems very unfair to the opponent. And it's not hard to trigger at all. I mean, we saw earlier in the tournament someone using Ties of the Brethren to force the activation on Boojins using this skill.
So, because you got to pay 2,000 life points, and then you get 3 monsters right away.
And that was kind of disgusting because Boojins, with Utopic Ray is kind of gross. So we'll see.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how the skill goes. It's definitely a good skill. It's just a matter of how good will it be.
So there's two routes
really
here, right? There's two routes here. Either it's going to become a meme, people are going to figure out and it's going to become a meme, or it's going to become broken emergency ban list.
That's really the only way, right? Yeah, because like the problem with this is, damn if you do, damn if you don't, right? If you don't play into it, well, they're just going to endlessly have hand traps and endlessly stall you until you win,
right?
And if you do play into it, well,
what are you gonna do? Yeah,
enjoy the next couple turns of Xseed spam that you cannot respond to,
that you can't keep up with. I know you mentioned it in the tournament, but this is kind of like the sub-terror thing all over again. Yep. The sub-terror skill,
pretty much like that, yeah, for the most part.
Where you just get that free material, and eventually that had to be, was that emergency ban list or just a ban list?
No, that was the ban list.
Just a ban list.
The only difference though is you could respond to the sub-terror warrior. I forget what his name was. I think it might be
Nemesis or something.
The Nemesis warrior. Yes, you could respond to his activation. You can't respond. You can't interrupt a summon, a synchro summon, or an Xseed summon. That's like where the big defining factor between that skill and this skill is. Being able to go from unresponsive to immediately synchro summoning is pretty strong, especially if they end up going into something like a Deltros. That just extends how long they can not be, interrupted.
Right. So let's just go over that one more time in case people don't understand what's going on with the skill. Basically, what we saw was, he summoned a monster, which at that point you get to respond if you choose. And if you choose not to respond to him summoning that monster, he can just now play a card from his hand, which you cannot respond to.
You can't respond to skills. Skills are irresponsible to, which is the defining factor of skills. If you guys have ever encountered on the ladder where someone goes into Monster Morph Gandora, you might have seen that before, where they go from their Rat Eyes into Gandora, and then Gandora gets to trigger his effect before you can respond. Same concept here. Yep. The only difference is before you can respond, they're going into an Xseed or a Synchro. And if they have, quick effects, the first time you get to respond is when they have a quick effect on the board.
Right.
Which is very unfortunate situation for you.
So yeah, it should be interesting to see how this shapes up. So let us know what you think about it in the comments below. Have you seen it on the ladder yet? Are people finding a way to abuse it? So it should be interesting to see what happens at the very least. All right, we're going to get out of here. Rye's tired. He's actually just fresh off the tournament. He just had to watch the finals twice. So
yeah, pretty much.
All right, make sure you get in Discord because it's free. The tournament's free. The new player help is free. We're going to get out of here. I'm Circus. That's Rye.
Peace out, boys.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.